It's very delicious to act with beautiful men. Some of them are in the realm of fantasy. Al Pacino.
She used to be the most dangerous woman in Hollywood, not because of what she did, but because of what she wouldn't let music become. Angie Dickinson has nothing left to lose and no more silence to keep at age 93. They told her what to do and made her smile through deception for decades. It was a world made to break women like her. Now, though, everything is different. She's ready to name the guys who hurt her now that the gloves are off. Around the world, 5 men were once seen as gods. 5 people who took everything she had from her with love, power, and lies. No, this is not a confession. It's time to make up, and the way she tells it, the truth isn't pretty. To be honest, it's been a long time coming, a time before fame and the attention. She was just a girl from North Dakota with a notebook full of songs and a strong desire to be more than what other people thought she should be. He didn't have any schooling or a well-known family name. He just had drive, a mesmerizing stare, and a quiet fire that made people take notice. She wasn't loud. She didn't play fish. She was just there in a way that made people want to notice her, which made her scary. The 1950s in Hollywood, on the other hand, didn't allow women to be in danger unless it came in lipstick and silk. It seemed like fate brought Angie Dickinson and Burt Bacharach together. Great actress in Hollywood and a genius composer whose music defined an age. For most people, they were the ideal couple, a mix of glitz and talent. The news said that their love story was like a fairy tale. Angie also thought it for a while. But once they got inside their Beverly Hills home, the cracks started to show. Burt was far away because he was busy with work and his own ego. It became normal to work late, take trips at the last minute, and not show up for work for no reason. At first, Angie told herself it was the price of being smart, which made her feel better. But the love was gone even before their daughter Nikki was born. Their marriage had changed from a partnership to a show. Angie's whole life changed when Nikki showed up. When Nikki was born, she had a developmental problem. Angie then gave her daughter her full attention. But Burt couldn't deal with the truth. He pulled away, going into the studio and going on concert trips. He showed up less and less as Angie gave him more. Nikki was taken to the hospital for a serious episode one night, and Angie called Burt in tears. His answer was cold and unattached. "Is this going to make my flight to Europe later?" That night, Angie stopped believing in him. After that, she fought by herself, learning every medical term, therapy, and treatment that could be given, making Nikki's life better. She turned down parts, interviews, and photo ops on the red carpet, leaving Hollywood in peace to be the mother her daughter needed. At the same time, Burt lived a life free of their problems, enjoying the praise and company of other women. Angie was even more hurt when she found out he had started an affair while she was still pregnant. Still, she didn't say anything to keep him from getting into trouble, because that's what women were supposed to do. After years, the worst moment came. Burt had to give Nikki permission for special care. Angie called him over and over, pleading with him to answer. When he finally picked up, what he said broke any hope that was left. "Please don't call me again unless she's dead." Everything came to an end. And not just a marriage, trust, love, and deception as well. The press said that their split in 1981 was friendly. But there was a story of loss and quiet strength behind that word. Burt didn't go to Nikki's funeral when she died many years later. Nothing, not even a call or a flower. Angie stood alone in front of a room full of strangers and gave her daughter's speech. That was the last sign that she had been the only one fighting. She didn't say anything for years. She never wrote a letter or tried to get back at someone. Angie no longer hides the truth, though, at age 93. Burt Bacharach may have created songs that moved people all over the world, but to her he was the father who left his daughter, who only wanted love. However, her story did not end in sadness. The next man she met wasn't a lover. He was a gatekeeper, a strong person who chose who would work and who would fade away. When Angie said no, she was punished in a quiet but terrible way. One person, one choice, one erase. That was how things worked in Hollywood. Angie Dickinson, who was once its biggest star, learned that a guy who wanted to get rid of a woman could be very powerful even if she was beautiful or talented. After that, she met Frank Sinatra. People called them the golden couple, but gold can burn. News stories said Frank loved her, but he didn't. He had her. He was a prince at first. In the evenings, staff barely dared to breathe, and every morning there were flowers and candles. Times when it felt like a movie scene. And Angie thought it for a while. She thought she could have love and freedom at the same time. But the curtain came down quickly. He didn't hit, he didn't scream. He only took bits and pieces of her. Each time she got closer to being on her own. The script disappeared when she agreed to play a part that needed a kiss. Everything she cared about went away when she tried to stand on her own. Frank was more than just the man she loved. That man was the one who shut her up and made her rights a crime. He didn't like the deal she signed, and when she got home, picture frames were broken and it was so quiet it felt like winter. She wasn't his partner, she was his thing. People in Hollywood called them perfect, golden and storybook. People didn't see the fear behind her smile though. The way her laughter shook when the cameras weren't there. It was important to keep track of every look, movement and word. She had to clear every man she worked with. When she tried to fight back, even if it was just a little, the punishment was quick and harsh. The deals were over after Frank made one phone call. If you were rude, the offers would stop right away. There were no yelling or slammed doors at the time that broke her. In the dark it came slowly. As of 2 a.m., Angie had just been cast in the most important part of her career. Critics were already talking about the movie. Frank, on the other hand, only cared about his power and not her success. He picked up the phone, told her the end of her future in one line, his voice steady and polite. "You'll never work again if you keep her in that movie." By morning she had lost her job. "Don't give a reason or say sorry, just be quiet." And in that moment of silence, Angie finally got what he loved most, not her soul or heart, but the power to choose when she could shine. She stayed for years not because she loved or was afraid of him, but because she still thought the man she met at the beginning might come back. He didn't. He turned into a ghost that followed her around for a long time after he died. After their story was over, his shadow still followed her. There were no more phone calls. Invitations stopped showing up. In spite of not being Hollywood's darling, she was still Angie Dickinson. She was marked, and Hollywood doesn't forget its marks. She still didn't say anything. That's what women were told to do. Stay quiet and move on. You have a wound that looks like jewelry that no one can see. But being quiet doesn't help. It furs. She is no longer going to act like it didn't happen at age 93. The man who sang about love and made everyone fall in love, Frank Sinatra, slowly took her away. He didn't need to be violent. He had something much stronger. A voice that everyone listened to. Then there was a man who broke her even more deeply. Not her will, but her role as a mother. A man who didn't just leave her, but also left a child behind who had no say in any of it. Angie had already lost a job before. What happened next, though, almost cost her life. The dad who didn't look at their daughter. Angie Dickinson got through most of her life with such ease that it looked easy to be in pain. She was fascinating on screen. She was a woman who could shout and still get people's attention. People off screen often thought her silence meant peace. But that quiet wasn't peace. I had to stay alive. She knew how to hide her sadness behind perfect stance and a smile when she felt like she couldn't say anything. Because feeling things was seen as weak in her world. And being weak was something a woman could never have. Behind every good picture shoot, interview and red carpet look, there was a woman trying to fix something that was already broken. It wasn't her job, her image or her family, or at least what was left of it. His name was Jack Webb. People thought he was a TV pioneer and a master of reality who brought honesty and grit to the screen. He made hits that defined an age, became known as a straightforward genius, and changed the way people lived during his time. His job was to keep young actors out. What he was to Angie Dickinson was worse. This shows that Hollywood women were never really safe. They became friends early in her career. Jack was looking for actors for a new crime show, and Angie was in the running for a recurring part. His office was full of awards, scripts, and pictures of people who owed him a lot. That's where they met. Jack spoke quickly and confidently, broken up into short phrases. He told her she was rare and had something in her eyes that other people didn't. He praised her recent work. Angie was sure she had the part when she left the meeting. It felt like everything was in place after the strong tryout. But the phone rang that night. Not from Jack, but from one of the people who work with him. The meaning was easy to understand. That job was no longer open. There was no reason or explanation. It was just the end. Her agent had told her hours before that things looked good. What did change? I got the answer in a quiet moment while having dinner with a friend who worked behind the scenes. Jack had moved forward. It wasn't rude or loud, it was quiet, like a test of power. Angie said no because she thought being professional would be enough. But Jack didn't like being turned down. Within 24 hours, 3 of the parts she was supposed to play fell through. She had spent weeks getting ready for projects that never showed up. It started happening that meetings that had been scheduled would not happen for no reason. Calls were not answered. Emails were not answered. It wasn't an accident that there was silence. That's when Angie knew it wasn't because of a bad audition or a different plot. One man, one choice, and one penalty. Jack never talked to her about it. He didn't argue or make threats. He quickly and quietly erased her, as if crossing her name off a list. She wasn't forgotten by the people. She got away from a system in Hollywood that kept actresses living. Directors of casting quit calling. Studios gave her parts that were make fun of for what she had already done. She played minor roles, cameos with one line, and moms to actors who were only a few years older than her. She had been in films and TV shows. She was now being pushed to the edges. At the same time, Jack Webb kept going up. It means more awards, more power, and more respect. No one asked Angie why her light had gone out. They said she felt like taking a break and living a quiet life. But no one was brave enough to say the truth out loud. In Hollywood, it wasn't brave to call out someone like Jack Webb. It was bad for his business. Angie didn't keep quiet because she was scared. She didn't say anything because she knew it wouldn't matter what she really thought. Men like him weren't punished for sabotaging without being seen. Because of that, they got more work. So she smiled for the cameras. She played the nice actress who was taking some time off. Even though quiet was slowly killing her career. Snorts, not just the loss of work, was making her sad. It hit her that a man who barely knew her could destroy everything she had worked for and every risk she had taken in an instant. It was important to her that her name meant something and that her work had made her a part of Hollywood history. But fame came with conditions. Success was short-lived, and respect was never a given. Not when it was being talked about behind closed doors. Years went by. Jack Webb stopped being in the news. People recognized him as a legend and praised him as a pioneer when he died in 1982. His shows were re-aired, and his memory was praised. Angie did not forget, though, not to get back at them, but because they kept being quiet. She never said bad things about him in interviews, sued him, or wrote a book. Still, she told the story to herself, not out of anger, but because she knew that other women and careers would be buried in the same quiet way. And now that she is 93, Angie doesn't talk. She talks very clearly. Since you have nothing to lose. Jack Webb didn't just take her part. He changed the way her life went. She does not call it anger. That's what she calls it. She now knows it wasn't just her. For years she had heard them in the dark at industry parties and behind well-groomed smiles at award shows. There are stories of women who said no and then disappeared. Some names were taken off of casting lists, having their careers cut short for no reason. Some people never came back. Others quietly left, moving away, changing their names, and acting like they had never thought. Angie didn't leave, though, not because she owed Hollywood anything. She wouldn't let them get rid of her. She changed. She played parts that didn't get as much attention but had more depth. People slowly remembered why she was important. The cut never got better, though. She didn't want to be forgiven because she thought she earned a chance that wasn't taken away from her. It's not just about Jack Webb in this part of her story. It's about a system that's meant to keep the strong safe and quiet. The rest, Angie calls him out not to hurt his image but to get her own back. She didn't stop there, though, because the next man wasn't a lover who was jealous or a director who was angry. He was a lot more dangerous than that. A man who controlled Angie through love and slowly replaced it with fear, so Angie didn't notice the trap closing until it was too late. The addiction that looked like love. There is a type of love that seems like loyalty but really tastes like power. It's love that whispers, holds tight, and doesn't leave any marks. 4. She didn't break up with Angie Dickinson, the most dangerous man she had ever met, or lose her job. It was the man who said he worshipped her and who was keeping an eye on her every move. Larry King was his name, and Angie learnt that what he meant by love was actually slavery. When they met, she was weak because she had just been divorced and had been in the public eye for years. She was ready for peace and quiet. Larry stood out. He was kind and thoughtful, and he seemed to see past the flash. He didn't try to get her with fame or power. He listened, and after years of loving her for how she looked, it felt like love to listen. At first his care made me feel better. He was interested in what she ate, how she slept, and who she trusted. She thought it was worry, but over time love changed into watching. He told her to call him when she got there. Then he told some of his co-stars not to do it. He read each copy before she could sign it soon. He told her that he was the only one who could protect her from Hollywood's mean people. She wanted to believe him until she saw how little her world had shrunk. Friends stopped calling. No one replied to the invitations. Larry never said she couldn't do it. He just made her feel bad about not going. And if she laughed too much or if someone else made her smile, his silence would say more than any debate. He would turn cold if she smiled at them for too long. And every time she said sorry, the trap got deeper. He would tell her that she was the reason he lived. Lawrence never yelled or raised his hand. He didn't need to. His power came from being able to keep things quiet, for making her think that she had to do what she was told to earn love. He used love to control her and her attention to spy on her. He looked at her like a subject, noticing every pause and breath. He broke down when she didn't follow his unspoken rules. A short time ago he hit his head against a mirror during a fight. He told her in a whisper that she was the only thing that was keeping him alive. Angie didn't run away because she didn't think there was any danger, she just couldn't put it into words. People didn't talk about mental abuse back then. People thought you were safe if you didn't have any bruises or police records. She wasn't though, she was going away. It was hidden under the seat of her car, and she found it one day. He didn't deny it when she asked him about it. This is what he called it: closeness. He said it helped him get to know her better. It was hard for her to decide whether she was scared or sad. Every time she tried to leave, he came back crying and begging and writing letters full of sincere apologies and promises of being with her forever. But it was no longer love. It was a problem. After a missed call, things really got bad. Angie had been to a meeting that could have helped her job again. Every picture of the two of them was destroyed when she got home, and every page of her journals was torn apart. In the middle of the chaos, he said, "I don't want to be in your life at all if I can't be in it the way I need to be." She didn't cry that night. She was wide awake and trying to remember the first time she gave up her freedom, but there wasn't a clear moment. It had happened in secret, looking like love. She left the next morning. There was no argument or emotional farewell. She took Nikki, packed a small bag, and ran into a small flat where no one could find her. She kept the blinds closed and the phone off for weeks. She needed space, not just from him, but also from the part of herself that thought control was care. After many years, people would ask her why she didn't tell the whole story. Angie only said that something bad can happen, and you won't understand it until a long time has passed. You're too tired to explain by then. At age 93, she is no longer protecting those who turn down her light. She doesn't speak out of anger. She speaks out of understanding. She would have left sooner if she knew then what she knows now. And maybe someone who feels the same quiet fear will find the strength to leave too if hears her story. The last treachery wasn't Larry though. She believed that person who sent it to her was trustworthy. A friend, not a lover or a husband. A man smiled at her under the studio lights and then said one word that broke her pride in front of millions of people. That person was named Johnny Carson. He asked her to be on his show to honor her memory. The lights on stage shone. People in the crowd stood up. The cheers were like thunder. Angie took a step forward, ready to get what she deserved. But before she could say anything, Johnny leaned in, gave her a tight hug and whispered, "I just kept you from being embarrassed. Don't make me feel bad about it." Someone had shown him earlier that day a leaked clip of an old interview in which Angie talked about a director she used to work with who was now in trouble. The video was never shown on TV. Johnny hid it not to keep her safe, but to take charge of the situation. The way he treated her silence on live TV was like a show. He told the crowd that she was a smart woman who knew when to speak and when to be quiet. People in the crowd cheered. The camera caught her smiling, but something inside her broke. After that night, people stopped calling her by name. Nothing was sent, called, or invited. There was talk about it, not because of a crime. Exile doesn't come from the news in Hollywood. It comes from the quiet time that strong men spent alone. Angie will never forget, she didn't carry it as anger but as the truth. At age 93, she finally speaks up. She doesn't want to be forgiven or feel sorry for. She's taking back her story. The names she uses are not blades but mirrors that show how cruel people really are behind all the beauty. That's not all there is to her story. That's proof. Let her words be heard if it moves you. Share it. There are stories behind every bright star that the world was never meant to remember. And Angie Dickinson has made up her mind that she will not forget.